ladies and gentlemen, Hal Roach presents for your entertainment and approval his Rascals in their latest Our Gang comedy. We thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. We hope you like our show. Hello, hello, hello.
Now there's an unusual relic of childhood. Actually, that's the child I left behind when nature decided I should begin to grow up, something that happens to us all. Most of us look back with fondness on our childhood, and we call on the kid that remains in ourselves to enjoy those memories. Nowhere can the celebration of childhood be found more entertainingly than on December 25th of any given year, and in a film series that began in the early silent days, survived the Great Depression, and finally ended with the second war to end all wars. It was called Our Gang. When the series hit television in the 50s, the name was changed for legal reasons to the Little Rascals. But the success of Our Gang could be directly linked with the innocence of children. There were many changes over the 2 decades those films were made, in faces and atmosphere, but throughout, the stories relied on kids being kids. And when that notion became less important, the series slowly came to an end. But the celebration isn't over. Not for us, nor the one-time kids who made up the various eras of Our Gang, many of whom are with us tonight. I'm Bob Lang, here to reacquaint you with those little rascals who made up Our Gang.
My Stella.
Thanks a lot. One afternoon back in 1921, Hal Roach, who for 7 years had been producing silent slapstick comedies, found himself staring out his office window at a group of kids in a lumberyard arguing over some sticks. Now, he'd seen kids before, obviously. He'd worked with child actors. But these were not trained children. These were real kids doing what kids normally do, rather than what grown-ups think they ought to do. And Roach stood there and watched them intently for a full 15 minutes before he realized what he was doing. Then he thought if he could get a group of these natural kids together to make some film showing the child's view of life, maybe he could make a dozen before the idea was finally worn out. In just over 21 years, 220 short subjects and a feature were produced. That's more films than in any other movie series. And Roach produced 169 of them. Not bad for staring out the window.
Hal Roach, the man who created Our Gang. At 90, he explained simply what it took to be in the gang.
What we looked for was kids that really knew how to act, natural actors. And if they were natural actors, they were in the gang.
The first film in the series was made in 1922 and was called Our Gang, hence the series name. It no longer exists. The Our Gang films were also known as Hal Roach's Rascals, a name which would mean more 3 decades later. They were kids and animals pictures and featured an unusual array of moppets in various sizes, colors, and personalities. Ernie Morrison was the first member of the gang. He was the first black child in cinema history. And he was known as Sunshine Sammy even before he joined the gang.
My father didn't take me. He took the neighbor's child. Now, the baby didn't have to do anything but not cry. So they couldn't get anything out of the kid because as soon as he hear that camera whirring, he'd look up and, he'd raise his story. So somebody said, look, Joseph, said, don't you have a kid? He said, yeah. He said, well, bring your guy out here. He can't be no worse than this one. So they took me. I was just the opposite. Inquisitive, the big eyes, and wanting to know what was going on, looking up, smiling, and they got what they wanted. So one of the guys on said, Joe said, we ought to call him Sunshine. He said he hadn't bothered about crying and he even thought about crying. You ought to call him Sunshine. My father got home that night and he said, Sunshine. And he took Sunshine and he put Sammy behind it and got his copyright.
This early group also included Jackie Davis, later the first tough kid, Little Joe Cobb, the original fat kid, freckle-faced Mickey Daniels, who would emerge as leader, and Jackie Condon with the tousled hair. All the kids would be encouraged to let their hair grow long in portraying tattered street kids, making do with what they found around them. Sunshine Sammy's baby brother was Little Farina, Alan Hoskins, who appeared in 105 of the films, more than anyone else in the series. He was discovered by Ernie Morrison and his father, joined the gang at 2 years of age, and was called one of the gang's finest natural actors by Hal Roach. When Ernie outgrew Sunshine Sammy and the gang, he was replaced by Eugene Jackson.
So then they said they're looking for a little boy to take Sunshine Sammy's place at Hal Roach, to be Farina's big brother. So then we went down there for the interview. Now my hair those days, my character was when I would get scared, right? And my hair would go up, right? And that was a big idea, you know, the hair, long hair, and my hair was real coarse. You could just comb it, and that's why I wore my hair those days, you know.
Yeah. What happened? What happened?
What happened? Yeah, what happened?
Tough kid Jackie Davis was pulled from the gang after only 2 years by his brother-in-law, Harold Lloyd, then a comedy star in his own series of Roach films, and sent to military school. But the most expressive personality and character most easily identified with was Mickey Daniels.
Mickey was one of the funniest freckle-faced, red-haired boys you will ever find, and believe me. Now, I don't say this because I knew him, but after leaving and looking at him, I realized just how funny he actually was.
Then there were the little girls, the leading ladies of our gang.
Gene Coleman, he was our still photographer, and a wonderful person he was. Then he brought his little daughter and put her in our gang, Mary Coleman. Mary worked. She was one of the originals. Now, her sister wasn't there at that time. She came later.
Peggy Ahern, eventually to replace Mary as leading lady, remembers both Cornman girls.
Well, you know, Mary was just before me, and of course Mildred I adored with the baby, and anytime I could hold Mildred and play with Mildred, I just loved babies. So I would try to get Mildred every time that she was on the set. But Mary was, you know, was older, and I had respect for Mary.
Bill Draper was assistant cameraman on the Roach lot, working with Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chase, and our gang. He also recalls younger sister Mildred.
She was very Dutch looking and very cute, very funny looking. And they wanted very badly to use her, but she found out as she cried, she didn't have to work. So she cried. And Bob would say that little so-and-so was crying Gene Corman out of $175 a week.
Throughout the series, the gang included one resident fat boy, the first of which was little Joe Frank Cobb, who added greatly to the individuality of the early group. Joe stayed with the gang for 7 years, returned as a teen for 3 cameo appearances, and remained short even as an adult, about 5 feet tall. J.R. Smith, Mickey Daniels' freckled replacement.
He was my closest friend in the gang. Of course, we were, I think, close to the same age, and we had similar likes.
Young Joe was deeply hurt by the death of his mother, and a number of friends from the Roach lot looked after him, including photographer Art Lloyd and his wife Venice, shown here in this rare home movie.
The story seemed to always call for Joe and I to be sweethearts. And so Joe was always trying to give me a sucker or something in getting my favor for a kiss in return. And we were always paired together.
Howdy-faced Jackie Condon joined the gang at the very beginning. Like Joe Cobb, he stayed for 7 years. Both boys were featured in Our Gang personal appearances after they outgrew their roles, and later they worked together as adults outside of show business.
Oh, Jackie Condon was a friend, my favorite of all. I can't say favorite, I loved them all, but he was closer to our family. And Jackie was always the little gentleman. And when we made personal appearances, he was the one that would open the door for me or hold out the chair for me to sit down and let me go first. And I was impressed with that.
He wet his pants every so often.
J.R. Smith had already been with the gang for a year when Mickey Daniels departed in 1926. His red hair and freckles made him a natural to step into that general role.
Oh, J.R. Smith. Well, he was a cut-up. I recall J.R. was always having somebody have to say, "Don't touch that, J.R. Watch out for that." But J.R. was a cut-up.
I don't ever remember any real problems, or petty things. The parents are the ones that cause the problems.
How so?
Oh, jealousy, you know, and you take more close-ups of him than you are my kid, and I hear him tell the kid, you know, stand out in front, get out in front, you know.
By mid-1925, the kids were beginning to mature, and other new faces included Johnny Downs, who frequently played the bully. Downs would later play boy-next-door type roles and remained lifelong friends with Mary Kornman. The following summer, Mickey Daniels left the group and created that void which was felt throughout the silent era, despite experience and enthusiasm of the rest of the gang. For the first few years, producer Hal Roach had taken an active role in the various facets of producing the series, but by now he was devoting more time to developing the new Laurel and Hardy series and more relaxing activities such as his polo ponies and trips abroad. And less attention was being paid to the gang by director Bob McGowan. He was a former fireman who moved out to Hollywood from Denver after being injured on the job. He joined Roach as a gag man in 1921, and the following year was assigned to the gang as its first director under producer Charlie Chase. The kids loved him. He made work a game and related easily to the children. But he was dividing his time among other projects when health problems would permit. Beginning in 1927, much of the director's chores went to his less talented son, Robert A. McGowan Jr., who used the name Anthony Mack. For the most part, Mack's films were inferior to the ones directed by McGowan. He didn't have the understanding of comedy, nor the ability to deal with kids.
When I was rolling this pool ball on one end of the table and the chicken was on the other end, and they were trying to get the camera and everything set up, and Anthony Mack was directing at this time. Bob McGowan was on vacation, and of course he had a short fuse, and he wasn't as patient with us children as Bob was. But he told me to quit playing with the pool ball, and of course I did for a few minutes. And then just about in the middle of taking the picture of the chicken, I rolled the ball and it hit the side and rolled back, scared the chicken and broke the egg. And of course he lost his temper and said, "Jay, you're fired."
Smith was retrieved and stayed with the gang for a total of 4 years. But there were some new faces, including Harry Spear, Jean Darling, and Farina's younger sister, Jane Hoskins, who was known as Mango. Jean Darling was the blonde sweetheart in the Mary Kornman tradition and made the transition to talkies with the gang. She later toured with Our Gang's vaudeville show and as an adult made the Broadway stage her home. By the end of 1927, Roach switched distribution from poorly managed Pathé to MGM, where the series had problems for a year until pictures began to talk. And just in time, for there was a new set of bright kids emerging from the ranks, including Mary Ann Jackson and little Bobby Hutchins, Weezer. At first it was music and sound effects, then dialogue and fascination.
Oh, before you come, I used to get a little attention. Now nobody loves me. Well, after the angels left you, nobody loves me either. I don't see how they could.
Shortly after sound films emerged, Bob McGowan returned to his directorial duties with the gang. And there was one more thing that happened.
Well, anyway, you was in a terrible rage today. And well, may we all tremble in our pants.
Jackie Cooper. Just a few short months after motion pictures began to talk, Jackie Cooper found a home. Hal Roach knew he had found a central character for the gang, one who was unaffected, genuine, and natural. Cooper was 7 and a veteran of silent and sound comedies. He was younger than his usual cohorts, Farina, who by now had grown into talkies, and 11-year-old Norman Chubby Cheney, who stood less than 4 feet tall and weighed 113 pounds. Roach cast Cooper as the good little bad boy, the one with the ideas that usually cause the trouble. He appears at ease on film in scenes like this with Edgar Kennedy, the perennial cop, apparently a grown-up little boy himself.
That was a group of kids that are real to them, that are alive. No television, no electronics, no computers, no all this electrical and hydraulic world we live in. And I think it's a great escape for them, as well as for the adults who look at it as a kind of an art form that'll never be.
There was the younger group of kids, too, usually the little brothers and sisters, and at one time or another, little Dorothy DeBorba was sister to them all. Her unofficial nickname was Echo.
I'm gonna tell the teacher, let her cut off her finger. I'm gonna tell the teacher, let her cut off her finger. I'm gonna tell the teacher, let her cut off her finger. Hey, wait a minute. Only cut off one finger. Hey, wait a minute, only cut off one finger. Hey, wait a minute, only cut off one finger. Hey, wait a minute, only cut off one finger. Oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. You make me sick. You make me sick.
I mimicked everybody, and I always knew everybody's cue line because of mothers giving me my cues for the previous, during the night before for the next day. So little Echo had the habit of doing things like this.
But of all the girls, there was none so fair as June Marlowe, Miss Crabtree.
Hey, you're pretty. You're almost as pretty as Miss McGillicuddy. All except in your nose. Gee, I wish you was a teacher. We'd like you almost as much as Miss McGillicuddy. Even with my nose? You ain't got such a bad nose.
I guess they encouraged a kind of little love affair between Miss Crabtree and me, because I had a big crush on her and I adored her. And looking back on it, quite obviously, she, was affectionate with me and this and that, so that I would be in front of the other kids as we were supposed to be on the screen, very protective of her and trying to hide my crush on her if they kidded me about it or anything like that.
All the kids were smitten with Miss Crabtree.
Now over there at the clothes closet. Mister? Well, little man. What is your name?
Miss Weezer.
And June Marlowe seemed, in turn, enamored with the talented children she worked with. This scene was evidently too cute to hit the cutting room floor. Watch Marlowe's reaction to Weezer.
Mama wants Jack to come home right away. She's going to shoot Papa.
Oh, who told you to tell me that?
Jack, of course.
And your mom isn't really going to shoot Papa, is she?
Of course not. She wants to tell Miss Walker about her operation.
Now there's a lady. She was so sweet. She was a very, very sincere, very kind lady.
Lovely lady. Lovely, warm, nice lady.
The Roach Ranch was located on Robertson Boulevard, north of the Culver City Studios in West Los Angeles. Several acres of rolling hills, scrubs, and eucalyptus trees. These scenes were shot off Robertson on the road leading into the ranch, which is subdivided today, and was the setting for a number of Roach films.
It was a little ranch between Culver City and Pico Boulevard, where it's all residential area now, and it had everything up there. It had all of our equipment, all of Charlie Osby's equipment, and we had all our dogs and all of our special effects. And that was when the air was pure and you could go 24 hours a day in a t-shirt, and we spent quite a bit of time up on this little ranch.
Morning, Miss Crabtree.
Morning, Mary. Why, Chubby, I thought it was your turn to sit beside me today.
I don't feel like sitting down. I'll ride on the running board if you don't mind.
Oh, did your daddy tan you again?
I'll say he did. Fluently.
And there was little problem in those early days to film in the various Culver City area locations.
Culver City and that area, Palms, so forth, out there wasn't that populated, and they didn't need permits. You went up and down the street and gave somebody a lunch if they wanted to come outside, and you used their property.
The whole town was like a studio. People were accustomed to us, and they didn't pay much attention to us. But the cops were standing by if it's necessary.
Little Bobby Hutchins as Weezer was beginning to develop as a comic actor.
Well, what do you want?
I guess I don't want anything.
You'd go to play with Weezer and his father would pull him away. Very competitive. I didn't get a satisfactory answer from my grandmother or my mother when she finally started to take me to work as to why, but he was to be left alone. I guess it was his father was going to make him a star or something. It obviously never happened like it did for Spanky and some of the other kids.
And Matthew Beard was at first known as Hercules, but he was rechristened by director Bob McGowan as Stymie because he was usually in the way. It's a name he used for the rest of his life. In this scene with Shirley Jean Rickert, even Weezer has a tough time keeping a straight face.
Is your mom home? She went over to gas. What did your mammy go out to get? She didn't go out to get anything. Where did your mammy go to get something that she didn't want to get? She went over to Watt Street. Watt Street? Watt Street. That's what I'm asking you, lady. Watt Street. Watt Street. Again, I ask you, lady, Watt Street. Now listen. They named the street after a man. Watt Street. Oh, sure, I know. Hey, Stymie, didn't I tell you not to show your ignorance?
But for all the spontaneous, gentle amusement from the kids, there was sentiment, and no one knows that better than Jackie Cooper. In Teacher's Pet, Jackie doesn't know he's run into the new school teacher and proceeds to detail exactly how he and his chums plan to play hooky, a common practice among members of the gang.
I am Miss Crabtree.
What's the matter? You got the bellyache? No, that's the pip that gave me the ride. And did I tell her everything? Oh.
Earlier, Miss Crabtree had arranged for ice cream to be delivered as a treat to her new students on her first day in class. But he's banned from the classroom as punishment. The script calls for him to cry.
My grandmother, I can remember this woman hovering over me like some big bird, you know, and so nobody would see, and pinching the inside of my legs and saying, "You're going to do this, you're going to do this right," and my not understanding why I was being attacked like this and crying. And then just before she left, she said, "Now, don't you stop crying," and she gave me a slap and backed out, and then he rolled the cameras, and Bob would say, "No, say the dialogue. So don't stop crying, but say the dialogue." Poor man, he had nothing to do with it, but I had a lot of instances like that with my grandmother, which made for a lot of hard feelings between her and me till the day my mother died, and then I didn't have to see her again, and I never did.
Yeah.
That scene led to Skippy, a film he made on loan to Paramount, which won Cooper an Oscar nomination. Roach subsequently sold his contract to MGM for a reported $100,000, and Jackie Cooper never went back to the Roach lot. Cooper's departure left yet another untimely void. Weezer and Stymie were given media roles, and Kendall McComas was added to the cast as Breezy Brisbane.
Now listen, Brisbane, Mother wants you to be a very, very good boy and study very hard in school. Mother wants you to be president.
Well, I don't want to be president. I want to be a streetcar conductor.
McComas had just left the competing Mickey Maguire series starring Mickey Rooney, and because of his rather aggressive demeanor, he was thought for a while to perhaps have been a midget rather than merely a child. But no one was ready for what was to happen next. In the fall of 1931, our gang was joined by Spanky McFarland.
Hi, Spanky. So you're going to the party too, eh? Yeah. You know how an airplane goes? How does an airplane go? I don't know. Don't you? I had a plane, and it even had a wreck. Did it have a wreck? Had little bitty wheel and little bitty wheel tail and the bottom that bottom that broke. Did it? Yeah. And you know what the rat did? What? He climbed up. Did he? And then when he got up in the airplane, he fell off. And when he got airplane, real hard, when he got stand up there, he fell off.
George Robert Phillips McFarland modeled baby clothes in Dallas, Texas. His aunt sent clippings to Roach, was summoned for a screen test, and became the most popular character in our gang.
Hello, Baba. That's funny. Oh, look at this funny thing. Look what goes that.
Spanky received his nickname from a Hollywood columnist. He was an exceptional toddler, and it seemed the Roach staff would film disjointed scenes to insert in unreleased films just to take advantage of his beguiling presence. Even a screen test was used. Today, whether George or Spanky, McFarland is the leader he was later to become in relationship to the gang. Very direct and in charge.
Dialogue wasn't really a lot of problem because when you were very young, you didn't have any. And it was mostly visual stuff. And they would just turn the camera on, and the director would direct you from beside the camera and attempt to get you to do what he wanted you to do. A lot of times that was also done, like in my early films, in the one film which was part of my screen test, where I was trying to hit a bug. The director would simply talk to me, Bob McGowan, and say, "Hit the bug, Spanky, hit the bug, Spanky." And where I made some kind of a response to the bug, or Pete the dog, or when I laughed or something like that, was a reaction simply from what I was doing.
Here's a rare glimpse of Spanky, the real little boy, caught in a home movie taken by Roach head photographer Art Lloyd on a spring day in Southern California.
These are Jodhpurs. That's Jodphurs. And this was my first outfit. And I don't know what kind of a shirt I wore, but instead of the beanie, which I graduated into or evolved into, my first hat was a tam, was a Scottish tam. And I wore that on the side of my head. Well, of course, it won't go over now, but maybe I can give you an idea. Let's see, how will I work it here? I wore it kind of like that when it would go over my head.
Little Spanky was nothing if not resourceful. But it was his amazing imagination that enthralled audiences.
Cousin lived up in a great big tree. He couldn't talk to nobody. All he could say is, ooh, it's like a hillbilly on the radio. Remarkable. It was lots of monkeys there, and they had on full overcoats. They all went like this. One day, a girl got lost in the woods, and her name was Jane. Tarzan liked her, too. And then he made monkey sounds for her. He went like this. Then he ducked around the water, and did she get mad? Boy, did they have fun climbing around the tree. Pretty soon, a big old lion comes up and he says, over there is a big old rhinoceros with a toothpick on his nose. Over there was some billy goats and they had handlebars on their head. Over there, there was a big old crocodile, and when he opened his mouth, he didn't have any face. He only had tonsils. Remarkable. Shut up. And he stabbed me right between the eyes, and he fell there, down there, and he got up, and he ran away way off behind the bushes. Remarkable. Can you say anything but remarkable? Yeah. I love when Pete say it. Remarkable.
Tommy Bond was seen by a talent scout in Dallas and without any sort of guarantee made the trip to Hollywood with his grandmother.
So Hal Roach was sitting in, I'll never forget, he had a great big office and a huge oak desk, you know, and he was smoking a cigar. And I walked in there and he says, hi. I says, hi. He says, you're Tommy Bond. I says, uh-huh. He says, well, tell me. He says, you like to fight? And I said, yeah. He says, can you look mean? I says, yeah. And he says, that's the kid I want. So they signed me up for a 7-year contract. Yeah.
Just friends, lovers no more. Just friends, but not like before. To think of what we've been and to never kiss again seems like pretending. It is unending.
I guess they like the pug nose and the eyebrows. You know, you have to have some kind of a special face to be a part of the gang.
Just
Spanky, Stymie, Dorothy, and the rest were scrappers from the poor side of town. But now it was the Depression, when day-to-day existence was as much a chore as understanding an artichoke.
I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna tackle it. It might choke Artie, but it ain't gonna choke Simon.
They had no idea they were poor. When a rich kid moves into the neighborhood, they only know that he's different and figure it's because he has a fire engine. Jerry Tucker is the rich boy, and Jackie Taylor replaced Jane Withers in this film. Indeed, her character's name remained Jane in this one outing.
As soon as they saw me, they, I guess, now as I look back, they recognized I looked very much like the original little girl who was Mary Cornman.
These imaginative youngsters seem to make all sorts of wonderful contraptions.
There were no toys in it, if you remember. We had to make our own toys, you know, and build our own little houses and make our own little fire engines or whatever it was, you know, that we all rode on and so forth. Of course, the property department and special effects people made them.
Kids today like to relate with the kids of yesterday, of that time. They'd love to put together that old fire engine that we had, you know, that went down the hill sideways. The kids would love it, but there's no old bicycle wheels. Everything's made of plastic. Now they can get a kit and put it all together, and I don't think kids really like to do that. I think they like to make things themselves, and I think that the new generation has lost that.
The man responsible for the gadgets and strange vehicles throughout the series was Charlie Olsey.
He was a man that, you know, I thought had 20 hands because he was so marvelous, and some of the things that he would come up with was just unbelievable. You couldn't believe it.
Charlie Olsey was a genius. He invented and made all these gadgets that we used. And I think he directed one time. He was sort of an assistant director.
Olsey joined Roach at the very beginning, first as property man, then as technical assistant and assistant director. He and McGowan had worked together earlier at Universal. He stayed with the Roach Studios for nearly 40 years, specializing also in wire work and creating special effects in some of Roach's topper pictures. The man behind the camera, who was also to stay with Roach throughout his career.
He was one of those cameramen that didn't have sense enough to be afraid once in a while. He climbed out over the edge of a 13-story building one time, shooting down at the street. He was so intent on getting his picture lined up that he kept crawling farther and farther. I took a hold of his belt and pulled as hard as I could pull, because he didn't seem to know that if he passed the center of gravity, he'd go splat. But he was that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
A good cameraman is that way, by the way, and I was not a good cameraman. If there was danger, I'd run.
Our gang was always amassed with various animals, including goats, mules, and monkeys. Tony Campanero handled these animals.
He had a monkey by the name of Rosie, and if Rosie wouldn't do what he wanted to, he'd put a rock in his hand. There'd be an SPCA woman standing by, you know, and he'd say, "Nice, Rosie." He'd bang her on the head with his rock. Then he'd pretend like he was kissing them, and he'd bite their lips.
Nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
But the animal with the longest running role was Pete the Pup, trained by Harry Lucenay.
Not to follow me. Oh. Listen here, Petey, old timer. Dogs ain't allowed in school, and don't you follow me. Understand?
Actually, there were a number of Petes seen throughout the series, and sometimes more than one at a time.
The older Pete had to circle around this side. The younger Pete had to circle around this side.
And were the younger Pete's direct offsprings of the older?
Yes, supposedly. As far as, I mean, that's what I thought. I mean, Pete was a papa, and Harry Lucenay was their trainer. And Harry was very good with us children, too, because, I mean, he had to work with the children as well as the dog.
Yeah. I remember one weekend he said to my mother, "Let Jackie come out, because we want to play with the dog, you see, and that would distract the animal and also waste some of the production time."
Yeah.
So he took me for the weekend. He lived out in the valley out there, one of the orange groves, had a little ranch and orange trees and horses and chickens and ducks and geese and and the dog. And the dog slept with me, and I had one of the great times of my life. I can remember it very, very well.
Well, he was our family dog, all of us. I mean, that was he put up with all of our childhood petting and mauling, and he was a real good-natured Pete, and so was his offspring that took his place when Petey retired.
During this period, the gang leaders included Dickie Moore, and then Wally Albright. The chief bully was Leonard Kibrick.
Oh, yeah? Yeah! You guys took great fight.
Roach cast his younger actors in the roles of observers, much wiser and more perceptive than the older kids around whom the majority of the action took place. It was that way with young Stymie, and then Spanky, who was later teamed with a partner,
You'll never learn.
Scotty Beckett.
Scotty was a very, very loving, a little bit more quiet than Spanky.
As I remember, we hit it off pretty well. Scotty was a nice kid, nice guy.
Thank you, gigantically.
It's a pleasure.
It was at this time, early in 1934, that Bob McGowan finally decided to turn the director's duties over to someone else. McGowan had directed the series from the outset, had served the kids well, along with editor Richard Currier, writers Tom McNamara and Beanie Walker, and musical director Leroy Shield. And the kids would refer to him as Uncle Bob.
Bob McGowan, our director, we all loved him, and we'd do anything in the world for him. Because when he got ready to do something in a situation, he'd ask us. He said, now, this is what I want. He said, how would you do this? Well, the kids being kids would do it like they saw it, which was what he was after.
Bob was very, very good with us children. And he just had the patience, and he could coax things out of you. And he very, very seldom lost his temper.
He was one of the greatest directors for kids, you know. And he was nice, and he loved us. I mean,
tell me about your Uncle Bob.
Oh, a sweetheart.
Now, this is Bob McGowan we're talking about, the director of the series.
I know. He was sweet, and he was such a nice man to work with. He could be rough on you, and he'd be cross, but especially with the little girls. If he said anything that he thought would hurt them, the next minute he'd have them on his lap, telling them that Uncle Bob loved them. And he had me on his lap many times.
He could charm anything out of us. And a lot of times now you'll notice with Stymie, you'll notice his eyes move from side to side, and he's watching Uncle Bob because Uncle Bob's behind the camera moving around.
What he got from us, commanded but never using that kind of word, was respect. A lot of respect and wanting to please him because we loved him.
Willie Mae Taylor had the role in 1934. Stymie's younger sister, Carlina Beard, was the first a couple months earlier. But that little smiling brown face in the lower left belonged to the buckwheat audiences came to love.
We had a lot of fun together.
Like a family.
Just like a family, right.
And you played together and you laughed
went
together.
to school together, played together, right.
Right. Was going to school on the lot very tough?
No, it wasn't. We went about 4 hours a day and worked 4 hours.
How did it feel seeing yourself on the screen?
I enjoy it.
Billy Thomas was buckwheat for over 11 years. Like Farina, the character was named after a breakfast food and was dressed in oversized shoes, knit dress, and rags in the hair. We never knew if either character was male or female until it became obvious.
What's on the other end of this string? Little buckwheat. Are you sure she's still there? Well, give her the thing and see. Yep, she's there.
William Thomas Jr., Buckwheat's son.
That was his stage name. That was his personal name, and he stayed with Buckwheat or Bill. Most of his friends now, they still call him Buckwheat or Bill.
You beg our buy that because you know, T-Man. You're too young to shoot them off. I'll shoot them off for you.
Buckwheat was terribly hard to communicate with because you couldn't understand him. But Bucky was shy more than anything. He could talk. His elocution lacked a little something, but I don't know of anybody that doesn't, you know, to a degree.
The following year, a pair of hillbilly brothers from Illinois visiting relatives in California received bit roles in an Our Gang comedy. Carl and Harold Schweitzer. Carl became Alfalfa.
Carl was 9 months older than I was. That was his name, Carl Schweitzer. And he was prone to getting into trouble, not serious trouble, but pranks on the set, so forth and so on like that.
Alfie was, I think, really a misunderstood kid. He was very bad in school. And it wasn't that he wasn't smart, he was. He just hated school.
Wonder what's keeping Spank? I don't know. He told me he'd been a little bit late, and he's got something on his mind. I wonder what it is. I don't know.
And where earlier female gang members were a bit more tomboyish and able to hold their own, a new group of young ladies were more feminine. Girls like Marianne Edwards.
Hello.
And Darla Hood, known at first as Cookie, a name which just didn't take hold. Darla would show her dimples, bat her eyes, and melt the hearts of the fellas, especially Alfalfa. She would later embody most of the characteristics of a female gang member, including fickleness.
Did you kids see the new teacher yet? No, I don't want to.
Then there was Porky, the gang's subtle scene stealer, as were Weezer, Stymie, and the toddler Spanky of earlier generations. And like the earlier team of Spanky and Scotty, he became half of the younger set team that caused a lot of the action or had the problems all figured out long before the older kids.
Sure does get spooky here at night. You did it. Come on, Alfalfa. Goodbye, Buttley. Bye, Barky. Bye.
Indeed, he assumed the role of Spanky, while Spanky himself, interacting with Alfalfa, became a new character altogether.
Come on, Alfalfa.
Porky was born Eugene Lee. His name was later changed to Gordon after his Our Gang director, Gordon Douglas. And his career began at a very early age.
How old are you, Porky? Huh? I said, how old are you? So.
By the mid-30s, music was playing an increasingly important role in the gang's pictures. That's Roach musical director Marvin Hatley on the podium.
Found on Broadway.
No, boys, not you. Go back.
And again seated behind the piano in the background. At first, Hatley led a trio. For Laurel and Hardy, he conducted 35 musicians, and up to 65 musicians for larger films like Captain Fury, for which he won an Oscar nomination in 1939.
We'd record right on the set. We didn't go down to a big recording studio and go through all that. We just sat on the set, and I just played the piano, maybe had a couple of other musicians. I can't even remember what we did. It's been so long.
Yeah. In Mike Fright, made in 1934, the kids make do with what they found around them. Bottles, cans, penny whistles, and so on, in keeping with the poor kids' rich and enthusiasm concept that made the earlier films so endearing. They entered radio contests and sang in school.
And on the farm it has some turkeys. E-I-E-I-O.
These are the Cabin Kids, a professional act represented by the Meglin Talent Agency.
Quack, 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 quack. you quack there, quack, 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 bitty, 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 piggy there, piggy, gobble, 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 you gobble there.
They put on shows for the neighborhood kids out in the barn. Yes, there were barns at one time in Los Angeles. They somehow managed to stage elaborate production numbers in later Follies films. Less believable, but still quite entertaining.
Broadway rhythm, it's got me Broadway rhythm, it's got me
This was the hat that I wore in the Follies. And it was made for me at that time because I had, although I had been told I had the big head, I didn't have that big a head then. And that's one of the pieces of memorabilia that my dear mother, Virginia, saved for me.
They were aided and reinforced by the Meglin Kiddies, a group of professional specialized acts trotted out for special occasions.
If you were under contract, you were actually an Our Gang member. There were bit parts. There were also extras, background. But now they were not as per gang members. It was only the ones that were under contract.
Probably the finest Our Gang musical is Our Gang Follies of 1938. Made believable in that the action takes place during Alfalfa's dream. But without a doubt, the most memorable musical moments belong to
Me.
Alfalfa.
If there's a cloud above.
Carl Schweitzer's mother insisted he possessed a sweet voice in reality, that as a youth he sang in his church choir. Indeed, it seems implausible that someone could sing quite that badly if not on purpose.
Oh, the object of my affection can change my complexion from white to rosy red.
However, the question remains, was Alfalfa as bad a singer as seen in the Our Gang pictures?
He certainly was. He thought he was good, though. That's the point. Yeah. He had all the confidence in the world. You know how he was.
Believe me, if all those endearing young charms I gave on so fondly today were to change by tomorrow and fleet in my
That was his voice. And they just said, sing, Alfie. And he probably thought he was singing good, you know. And he'd sing a song and strain and the whole bit, you know. They loved it. They just loved it.
Goodbye to spring and all it meant to me. It can never bring the things it used to be or lost. And you are the one. It's love. I'm the singer of this show. Okay. Just an echo. Valley. It brings back sweet memories of you.
Between 1934 and 1936, Our Gang was being directed by a former cartoonist, Gus Mines. By the time Mines left Roach in a clash over production policies, he'd directed some of the finest films to come out of the studio, including Babes in Toyland for Laurel and Hardy.
Gus was delightful along with the others. He was just like our foster father. What he said we did. He did it with fun and humor. He had a loving way about him, and all the directors had a way of bringing the children out. They had a way of us enjoying what we were doing, but at the same time they were having fun with us.
Gus Mine's a wonderful director, had a wonderful personality. He knew just how to handle kids and get along with them.
Gus Mines later committed suicide.
Poor Alpha, he's in love again. Yes, ain't it a shame?
Young love, a most marvelous and entertaining and inventive pastime. Our gang's first femme fatale was Mary Cornman. She and Mickey Daniels returned to the gang as young adults.
Hey, what are you?
Well, I'm the teacher.
Teacher? You're the teacher and I'm the truant officer.
There was no use trying to resist.
We'll be pals forever. You bet. I'm off women for life. Me too. Good morning, boys.
Jean Darling knew at an early age how to get what she wanted out of Joe and Chubby.
Gee, I'm thirsty. I wish I had some pop.
While Jackie's love for Miss Crabtree is legendary,
Gee, you smell like a brand new haircut.
he shared a love-hate relationship with little Mary Ann Jackson.
And I took to little Mary Ann, had kind of a crush on her, I guess. And my mother liked Mary Ann's mother. I remember being in their home, roughly the area where they lived. I remember it was a North and South Street in the old area of Hollywood there near Paramount Studios between Wilshire Boulevard and Melrose. And liked her very much and saw a lot of her. Saw a lot of her, saw a lot of Chubby, and busy working. We worked about every other week on those things.
Everyone was taken with Miss Crabtree, including Chubby Cheney, who was a student in the art of courtship.
Oh, Norman. Don't call me Norman. Call me Chubsy Ubsy. Hey, Wally, here comes your girl.
Jackie Taylor was the fickle woman.
There you are. May I sit in it? Sure. Won't you sit down? Sure, I will.
And in a love triangle, there's big trouble when a woman comes between friends. It becomes apparent that this love business is getting out of hand.
Here, Henrietta. Oh, thank you. Oh, Walter, will you be my Valentine? Most certainly. We, the He-Man Woman Haters Club. We, the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Promise not to fall for this Valentine business. Promise not to fall for this Valentine business. Because girls are the bunk. Because girls are the bunk. Every time I want to take her out, she's always got to stay home and take care of the baby. It's enough to run a man's appetite. Yeah. Maybe she's got another fella. She ain't neither. No. She's my girl. Yeah. Why? She's so proud over me that she wouldn't even look at another man. Waldo, wouldn't you love some chocolates? I'd be delighted.
Darla Hood brandishes the worst insult of all.
No, she wouldn't even look at another fella. No.
But believe it or not, there's a far worse menace than capricious women. It's Butch.
Wait a minute. Butch wants to talk to you. Who's Butch? I am. And starting Monday, I'm the big shot around this place. See?
He was with the gang a few years before I joined it, and then he left at the same time, about the same time I did. And then I remember Tommy telling me that they invited him to come back and play the tough guy. And he said he thought that'd be fun, since he really wasn't a tough guy.
Yeah, well, Leonard Kilbrick played Butch originally, who was Sidney Kilbrick's brother. And then when he outgrew the part, they wanted to find another Butch. So they said, why don't we use Tommy? He's got a great face and everything. If we can act mean, he's got it. So I got the part. And his brother, Sidney Kilbrick, became my sidekick, who was known as the Woim. Yeah. Right? So then I was Butch.
Hey, you! Come here, I want to talk to you. Can't you see I'm busy vocalizing? Speak to my manager. Manager? Yes, you got Steve Banky, Mr. Butch. Well, where is he? Just a minute, I'll see is he in. Why don't you answer the phone, Barky? I'm sorry, Buckley. Hello, Buckley. Mr. Butch, see Mr. Banky. Well, William may I receive sin. Hello, Dollar. Hello, Porky. Mr. Butch can see Mr. Pine. Just a minute and I'll see if he's in. Mr. Butch to see Mr. Spanky. Tell him I'm not in. So you're not in, huh? And where are you?
Eluding Butch and the Woim got to be a regular habit.
Stay with me, fellas. There's two tough guys after me. Hiya, pal.
Then there was the daily grind of going to school.
Children, I'm Miss Lawrence, your new teacher.
Board of Education was the single Oscar-winning short for the series and was the first to be directed by Gordon Douglas. It wasn't the most outstanding film of the series. Indeed, the earlier school day outings featuring Miss Crabtree and Jackie Cooper, as well as 2 or 3 dozen others to date, were much superior. What couldn't be topped, however, was the real education provided the young actor students of our gang. Wherever they went, they found a schoolroom, even if it was just a table and portable blackboard on a soundstage. If they respected Bob McGowan and the other directors while they were working, they had equal respect and love for Fern Carter, our gang's real Miss Crabtree, who began teaching at the very beginning and stayed through to the end of the Roach-produced films.
We all went to school there at the studio. Fern Carter was our teacher, but she was a teacher with the Board of Education.
She taught 1st through 6th grade, 3 hours a day. And in most cases, to a lot of kids that didn't want to learn it in the first place. So she did a superb job.
You got personal attention, too. If you were failing at something, we had tests. And if you were failing at something, well, Mrs. Carter was very, very good. She gave you the time that you needed to help you out.
We had a certain time that we had to go to school, it was state law. When we went on location, we had a school bus that went along with us that had the desks that dropped down, and Mrs. Carter used to sit up in the front. We'd do our work on the desk, and when it time for shooting, we'd go and then come back. But she was a great teacher.
Yeah. How would you evaluate that education?
Superb.
Each era of the gang had its resident fat boy, pretty girl, young tag-along, black kid, tough kid, freckle kid. There was the all-American type, the worldly and wise youngster, the love interest, the sidekick. They were all there at one time or another, sometimes more than one of a given type. The The 5 main black kids, Sunshine Sammy, Pineapple, Farina, Stymie, and Buckwheat, are among the most endearing of the characters. They all turned in some of the series' finest comedy moments. Sadly, some of their best bits are not likely to appear on television.
The current TV distributor of the Little Rascals, King World Productions, apparently sensitive to the way motion pictures have portrayed blacks in general, have deleted certain films entirely from the series or have eliminated questionable scenes. This censorship has taken place regardless of whether or not the expurgated scenes are essential to the plot. And they include some of the best films in the series: Moan and Groan Incorporated, Little Daddy, and The Kid from Borneo, in which Spanky mistakes a sideshow wild man for his Uncle George. Innocent though they are, they've been shelved.
Say, what's Pop talking about?
About a third of Anniversary Trouble is gone, the part where Spanky disguises himself as Buckwheat. And Little Sinner, admittedly one of the weaker entries, has been chopped in half and makes little sense. In its sensitivity, King World has avoided offending one's sense of human decency, and instead has offended one's sense of creative integrity.
Still, King World has a point. Ethnic humor was popular during the 20s and 30s, but does not play well today. And there were some insensitive films in the series, such as A Lad and a Lamp, complete with watermelon and other stereotypical gags. For the most part, the films appeal to all ages, but the intended audience today, after all, is children.
No, in most cases, I think they're, like all advertisers, trying to guess what the audience might not like. I doubt very much whoever this they is that's done this editing had somebody from the black community in to help them. Someone from the NAACP, let's say, who would probably say, that's all right, you know, a black kid's going to meet that on the street anyway. Oh, obvious things, like I said, the white flour all over suddenly making him a very white little boy or something. Some of those bad jokes and watermelon jokes would, yeah, they could come out because it's not good for young white kids to see that either.
Most gang members and their families agree with the critics, including those we interviewed, and most of them had very definite feelings, that this censorship, without regard to content, as imposed by King World Productions, is certainly unjustified.
Now how many have you got? I still got 2. Well, how can you have 2 when I just took one away from you? I got one in my pocket.
Both Farina and Stymie, 2 of the gang's strongest characters, reportedly felt that way, and neither experienced any discrimination on the Roach lot, nor did Buckwheat or Pineapple.
I was treated great, you know. In fact, I didn't even know I was colored on them scenes, in those stages, you mean? Everybody loved me, and like one big family those days. Yeah.
It was not done with any derogatory. I mean, this was, to me, was a group of children playing together, both whites and blacks.
There was never any mention. I mean, there he was mingled. It was an integrated show. And, of course, I think that was a good thing about a lot of movies in those days, but about the gang and for kids, that it said something. And probably a much better role model than television has made of any youngsters on television today.
You got to understand, I went to the first integrated school in the world, and that was a Hal Roach private school on their lot, because there was always a black in the our gang comedies, and we went to school together and we worked together, and the race or anything else never did enter into it. It never entered into it.
And of Hal Roach himself?
Hal? Oh, the man was colorblind.
The Hal Roach Studios specialized in short comedies, and Roach and his staff were proud of the feature quality of those 20-minute gems featuring Our Gang, Harold Lloyd, Will Rogers, and later Charlie Chase, Thelma Todd and Zazu Pitts, and of course Laurel and Hardy.
They were screened with a newsreel, maybe a cartoon, and the feature. Now, the larger film companies like MGM, which was distributing the Our Gang shorts, would engage in block booking. That's where they'd say to theater owners, here's our feature and here's our short. To run one, you must run them both. By the mid-30s, it was costing much more to make a short, so economically it made sense to discontinue them. Roach's people were geared towards short comedies, and Our Gang was Roach's last series, but also his favorite, so he wasn't ready to give them up. He tried them in the longer General Spanky without much luck. He'd be more successful with Captain Fury, Brian Ahern's Adventure Yarn, Laurel and Hardy's Way Out West, and later 1 Million BC and John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. So to save on cost, he cut them from 2 reels to 1 reel. Streamliners, he called them, and they were good. But there wasn't that consistent feature-length block booking leverage. So after a couple of seasons, he sold the series, including cast and crew, to his distributor MGM, who would continue producing the series while he would retain rights to his existing films. But he also sold the name Our Gang, which is why his films became known as The Little Rascals when he distributed them to television in 1955. In late May of 1938, however, when Our Gang moved from Hal Roach to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the magic stayed behind.
I'd rather sleep with a bunch of porcupines.
There were some nice moments in the last years of the Roach films, and the Streamliners, directed by Gordon Douglas, were fast-paced and entertaining.
By the way, what is a porcupine? Oh, you tell him, Buckwheat. Oh, Porky, you tell him. Oh, I don't know. Tell us song!
Porky, in particular, had some fun moments.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, hey!
Alfalfa and Spanky were beginning to show their ages, and a cute face was needed.
I expected this, but not so soon. Doggone it, Junior. There's no place for you.
The face belonged to Gary Jazzgar, and it never seemed to change.
Oh, he's not a bit of trouble, not much.
They called me the young Buster Keaton because I was very deadpan, didn't smile, didn't do anything other than create havoc for all the rest of the gang.
Now Mel Jazzgar, one-time Junior, recalls little of his stint with the gang, having been less than 2 when he made this his first scenes.
I was Darla's little brother, and I was sitting on Madeline Carroll's lap, and my very, very first scene, and I don't know, maybe I was nervous, but I wet my pants. And they had to shut down production for 3 hours until everybody dried out. They didn't have things like dryers or hair blowers in those days, so from then on, they made my parents buy 2 sets of costumes for me for every scene, so that in case we should have that kind of an accident again, that we'd be able to change and start production again a little bit faster.
MGM also featured Darwood Kay as Waldo, and Shirley Coates, cast as the Plain Jane, was rather insensitively christened Muggsy. Some new characters were introduced during the final years. There was Billy Laughlin, who was Froggy, and would become a central character.
Does your voice always sound like that?
No, sir, only when I talk.
And Janet Burston replaced Darla Hood, who had graduated as Our Gang's sweetheart. Mickey Gubitosi joined as the cute tag-along when Porky Lee departed. Spanky remembers young Mickey as
kind of a whiny kid. He talked whiny, and he was the only kid, the only actor that I had ever had anything to do with that could cry on cue. He had that talent.
At 2, Mickey performed in New Jersey with his father and sister in an act called The 3 Little Hillbillies. At 5, he joined the gang, anglicized his name at 8, and later was featured in the Red Ryder series as Little Beaver, which he's called the commode of his life.
He was a nice little Italian kid, and that was the one exception of socializing, is that our folks and his folks got along very well, and I got along well with Mickey. Of course, I was much older than he was. And they used to come out to the house all the time when we lived in the valley in Van Nuys. And his mother and dad would come out and cook spaghetti.
Bobby Blake is today, of course, Robert Blake, and a much better actor than when he was, as he puts it, a child laborer. Frank and outspoken, he now says he was unhappy as a child. If I hadn't been on a set, he says, I would have been grumpy wherever I was.
Please, Mr. Matt, don't send them to jail this time. They didn't mean to be naughty. We didn't, honest.
If Bobby Blake had anything to be grumpy about, it was scenes like this.
Dog, I can see now that that's where we were wrong. If we'd been more careful and learned everything about it, we wouldn't be here, disgraced and in trouble.
The MGM pictures became vehicles for moral messages.
Gang, the newspaper says the Red Cross needs money. Let's get our pennies together and send them in. It's a very good cause. Now repeat after me. We all promise to stick together. We all promise to stick together.
Earlier, we were cleverly offered membership in the Secret Order of the Winking Eye, the ancient and honorary order of the Woodchucks Club Incorporated, the Secret Revengers Club.
March. March. April. April. And etc. and so on. Etc. and so on. High sign.
Now it was one for all and all for one.
Now, this is a high sign of brotherhood. And this is a sign of trouble. Now, if you ever see a member do this sign, you gotta help. Because our motto is one for all and all for one.
They were still called Our Gang comedies, but they weren't funny. The charm was gone. The credibility was gone. While MGM made some marvelous musicals in the 40s, the Our Gang films weren't among them. Compared to the Roach-produced Follies films, they thrived. The series still rated high with theater owners, no matter how tiresome some scenes appear today.
Where they go to, we don't know. Oh, Genevieve, sweet Genevieve.
When he sold the rights to MGM, it went fine for a while because they kept the nucleus of the gang. You know, they kept me and they kept Bob and Spanky and Darla. And then, gosh, I was in the gang 7 or 8 years, and I was 13 years old before I left the gang, and I was just getting too big, you know. So then they started replacing us with other kids, and they just, when the war started, it died.
Different writing, different budgets. The idea of the producers of what was good entertainment then. The idea of the producers of what position and level that the children should take in a grown society. Probably a combination of all those things. Different writing, different attitudes, social attitudes at the time.
The final MGM Our Gang picture made was appropriately titled Tale of a Dog and featured one of the series' longest sustaining cast members, Buckwheat, who had all too obviously outgrown the series. In the spring of 1944, Our Gang was no more. But there were hundreds of Our Gang graduates, and in a moment, we'll trace the lives of 40 of the main characters.
If you had a chance to do all this over again, would you do it?
Why, certainly. I'd be glad to do it all over again.
Not even going to think about that question, huh?
No, I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Ernie Morrison, Sunshine Sammy, the first featured Our Gang member, worked in vaudeville and B films, including the East Side Kids series after leaving Our Gang. As an adult, he worked in the aerospace industry. Jackie Condon unsuccessfully tried to re-enter show business a number of times. He worked at Rockwell International and died at 59 in June of 1977. Farina was Alan Hoskins, who made his home in Oakland, California, as the director of the Alameda County Association for the Mentally Retarded. "Give me the rejects," he would say. "I can work with people who are nobodies. I love these people." He died in 1980. His widow, Francie, still lives in Oakland. His sister, Jane, played Mango, also lives in the Bay Area. Rumors that Mickey Daniels was killed in a construction accident in Australia have not been confirmed. He worked for Bechtel Corporation until 1966, then dropped from sight. Daniels' chief cinema love interest was Mary Kornman. She remained in films for a time, appearing in some B-westerns. She died of cancer in 1973. Her sister Mildred goes by Ricky Van Dusen, a successful fashion model. Jackie Davis, the silent-era tough kid, became Dr. John H. Davis, a West Los Angeles physician. Joe Frank Cobb, like Jackie Condon, worked at North American Aviation in Downey, California as an adult. He's retired and lives in a small apartment not far from the former site of the Culver City Hal Roach Studios. Peggy Ahern Blaylock and her husband have retired to an exclusive area near Hollywood. Their son, William Blaylock Jr., is with Time magazine.
We're all good friends. There's certainly such a unity in a group you'll never see in 6 or 7 young people.
Still semi-active is Eugene Pineapple Jackson, who performed in vaudeville as well as films and later television as Uncle Lou in the series Julia with Diane Carroll. He and his family live in Compton, California.
We had a ball. Yeah, we had a ball.
Johnny Downs had a fairly successful film career in musicals. He finally made his show business home local TV in Southern California. Bobby Young was bone dust in the early sound films. He later became Clifton Young, played minor film characters, and died in a 1951 hotel fire. He fell asleep while smoking in bed. J.R. Smith is retired from the retail paint business and now divides his time between his home in Hawaii and traveling on the mainland.
It was just a very nice time in my life. And as I get older, well, it gets more valuable.
Jean Darling preferred Broadway and the theater to celluloid. Recently widowed, she now lives in Ireland, where she writes children's stories and performs on radio. Bobby Hutchins played Weezer in the late silent and early sound films. He was killed in his late teens during World War II in a plane crash as he was about to receive his wings. No-nonsense Marianne Jackson retired from the gang at age 8. She has a son and daughter and lives in the San Fernando Valley. Norman Myers Cheney, chubby. He left the series and show business at 13. By his late teens, he had ballooned to 300 pounds, underwent surgery for a glandular ailment, and dropped to less than half his weight. He died in Baltimore, Maryland at the age of 18 in May of 1936. After Skippy, Jackie Cooper starred in The Champ and Treasure Island, both with Wallace Beery. Then some B pictures, and then he starred on Broadway and later television in The People's Choice and Hennessy. He's an Emmy Award-winning director and occasionally performs in films such as the Superman trilogy. He remembers people and events, but little today of the Our Gang films themselves.
Some of them you can remember. I can tell you what's coming next. But most that I see, I don't even remember it at all. Isn't that interesting?
Dorothy Adele DeBorba left the series, eventually landed in Montana, and then Berkeley, where she worked in the journalism department of the University of California. Little Echo is the mother of 2.
It seems nice to think so many generations have watched the gang.
As a teenager, Matthew Stymie Beard found the world outside the gang difficult. He eventually became a heroin addict and for years bounced from the street to the jail cell. The Synanon Rehabilitation Program changed his life, and he found occasional work in television character roles.
Oh, Stymie was a dear person.
He died in 1981. After Our Gang and the Mickey McGuire series, Shirley Jean Rickard joined the Air Corps as a truck driver during World War II. During the 50s, she was a burlesque stripper, Gilda and her crowning glory. Today, she's successful businesswoman Shirley Jean Measures. Sherwood Bailey, Donald Haynes, and Kendall McComas have all vanished. Upon leaving the gang, Spanky McFarland moved back to his native Texas, and over the years entered many businesses, from making popsicles and selling hamburgers to hosting a Tulsa, Oklahoma kiddie show and operating a restaurant. For a number of years, he's found success as a public relations representative at Philco Ford, is married and the father of 2. Tommy Bond followed the gang films with small roles in larger pictures, appearances in the Gas House Gang films with Alfalfa Schweitzer, and was the original Jimmy Olsen in the Superman serials of the 40s. He moved behind the cameras in Los Angeles television and now works in Fresno, California.
Well, I don't think they'll ever be able to replace the gang. You know, they've tried to make other pilots and other series with different kids, and it just doesn't work out because I think we were of that time.
In 1942, Dickie Moore gave Shirley Temple her first screen kiss. He acted in and directed many features, was public relations counsel for Actors Equity for 7 years, and operates his own New York public relations firm. Until recently, the identity of the character known only as was not known. He's been identified as Red Jackson, whereabouts unknown. Wally Albright remained in films through the mid-40s, but sports was more interesting to him. He's won hundreds of water sports trophies and has even built his own boats. Jackie Lynn Taylor Fries and her husband Jack are both ministers. They've co-hosted the syndicated Little Rascals Family Theater for some years and are among the most active in perpetuating interest in the series and information on former gang members.
I'd love to do it again. It's more fun talking about it now and what it's done because we were one of a kind.
Scott Hastings Beckett attended the University of Southern California and made film steadily into his 20s. He was the Space Ranger sidekick to Rocky Jones, the early TV series. Twice divorced with one son, he drifted into the drug world. In 1968, after suffering a serious beating, he died of a probable suicide at 38. Leonard Kibrick was the original bully of the talkies. He continued to act until entering the service, later became a talent scout, and is now a San Fernando, California building contractor. His brother, Sidney Kibrick, was also a heavy, the Woin, and he's also a Los Angeles area developer. Billy Thomas played buckwheat for most of his decade with the gang. Rumors of his death in a plane crash while flying emergency rations to Biafra were false. He'd been a film technician with Technicolor for 20 years. He died unexpectedly in October of 1980. Marianne Edwards Provencio brought new femininity to the gang in her brief appearances. She now lives in Southern California, has 2 daughters. Carl Schweitzer performed in minor roles in a number of subsequent films, some as Alfalfa Schweitzer. He was an outdoorsman and frequently guided celebrities on wilderness trips. In 1959, in an argument over $50 with an ex-business partner, he was shot to death. The coroner's ruling, justifiable homicide. He'd pulled a knife. Little Porky was Gordon Eugene Lee, who returned to his native Texas and eventually became a school teacher. He now lives with his family in Boulder, Colorado, where he also restores antique cars. And somewhere along the line, he grew to 6'4". After departing from the gang, Darla Hood remained in show business, forming a musical act and later appearing on radio and TV, and more recently on TV commercials, where she utilized her 3-octave voice range. She died in 1979. Waldo was Darwood Kay, later Darwood Smith. Following a stint in the Army, he became a Seventh-day Adventist missionary and is today a minister in Michigan. Gary Jasgar was known as Junior. Today he's Mel Jasgar, owner of a retail spa business in Southern California. He's married and the father of a son and daughter. Did he ever consider re-entering show business?
I don't think so. I was never really in show business. When you retire from showbiz at the ripe old age of 2.5 or 3, I mean, you don't really consider yourself having that much grease paint in your blood.
Whiny-voiced Mickey Gubitosi became successful award-winning actor Robert Blake, whose credits include In Cold Blood, Electra Glide in Blue, Blood Feud, and the TV series Beretta. He resides in the San Fernando Valley. Billy Laughlin was called Froggy because of his deep, gravelly trick voice, which was a main part of his character. In the early 50s, while still in his teens, he was riding double on a motor scooter, which lost control and crashed. The driver escaped serious injury. Froggy was killed. Hal Roach, the man responsible for our gang. Hal Roach Jr., the son who took the helm on Roach's retirement, died in 1972 at 51. Roach himself, widowed in 1981, was living comfortably well into his 90s in Bel Air, California. Did he ever dream our gang would be the success it was?
I never had that good a dream, no.
The Roach Studios were demolished in 1963 to make way for an automobile showroom. This plaque in a patch of lawn on the corner is all that's left.
There you have it, the children we left behind. A reminder that we really don't have to grow up completely, for to do that would be fatal to the spirit. Our gang was a product of its time, the blending of people and events and other influences found in the ambiance of those decades. And because of all that, it can never be duplicated. It was born and developed out of the atmosphere of the Depression and remained rich in content as long as those people responsible for the gang cared. Lucky for us, they cared enough. Lucky for our kids, too. I'm Bob Lang. Good night.